Ladies and gentlemen, one and all, cheers. It's the night shift. I'm your manager on the evening. We've got DDK and ZP to open things up and another round of your favorite games of Deadlock. We're showcasing the best players before a game even drops. And we're teaching you how to play it. DDK, we're pretty fired up for this episode because last week, Abrahams take their second win. That now makes 2 for the former VP squad, now known as Buff Enjoyers, 2 for Abrahams. We're going round 5. Somebody's going to take the lead tonight.
Yeah, and it's cool because week to week we're seeing improvements. Obviously, that's what we saw out of Abrahams, not only able to get the lead, but to close it this time. So the story keeps on going, and these teams are working really hard. And we've also had another whole week of refinement on these new heroes. So again, there's just so much that could differentiate these performances. So I'm super stoked to see what they're going to be this time around.
ZP, let's jump into the format. For anyone who is new to the night shift, we are not, but they may be unfamiliar with the format. It's pretty simple, though. You just have to play one game to start off the day, right?
Yep, we start out with our challengers match. It is a best of 1, win or go home, and the winner of the challenger match goes into the money match. It's a best of 3, and oftentimes here on the night shift, especially in EU, it has gone the distance to a full 3. And then we do it all in EU, and then we say, hey, let's do it again, but over in NA. You get the best of the best from both regions.
Shout out to our production team. We literally got the Mott's fan club logo 30 seconds ago. It's already in the broadcast. Solomon and crew, the best in the business, pressing the buttons behind the scenes. But on the mic, you got DDK, Chris Bucket, and ZP to start the show. We're going to have some special guests coming a little bit later. And of course, we have even more guests joining us this weekend because we're not done with Counter-Strike here. If you're part of Project Night Shift, we are now going into week number 3. DDK, you've been a part of the first 2 weeks. What are we getting into this time around?
Well, this coming weekend, we might be seen doing a shoey or 2 because we're going to be going down under in Melbourne. I mean, that's where basically all the teams are from, even though it's going to be just the APAC region. It's turned out that we've got all these Aussies. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see shine a light on their region. They'll be fighting for 10K winner take all. And also we're going to have a fun show match as well. The TF2 within CS, which has been pretty awesome to watch. So you don't want to miss it.
That, of course, is our Intel Aces Republic of Gamers Counter-Strike fun with DDK at the helm. Project Night Shift has been up and rolling. I saw all kinds of subs were just chiming in last episode. I expect that to continue with even better games from down under. ZP, if you're new, though, to the Intel partnership, they've been here for the last 2 weeks. It's been very exciting. And this week, we got to give a shout out to Gamer Days because Battlefield is dropping about a month from now. October 16th, the game will be out and you can get it for free.
Yeah, that's right. Just follow the directions in chat or on the slide, and you too could potentially get some rewards like a free copy of Battlefield 6. I think there's some other stuff too, but it's all there. And I know it says till September 7th, but I still think it's a thing. I'm not entirely sure, but either way, Intel's still doing really cool stuff over the month of September. Definitely check it out.
That's right. Intel Gamer Days are going on right now. We have discounts on a wide variety of Intel-powered desktops, laptops, and qualifying purchases. As you heard, get a copy of Battlefield 6. So head on over to game.intel.com for more information. With all the plugs out of the way, we can dive deeper into the show, ladies and gentlemen. And last week, we had some fantastic picks and bans. The drafts were hot fire. ZP, what was your takeaway?
My takeaway is that, look, some things were really strong, like Vindicta and Holiday, but some things may be subject to change because guess what? In just 1 week, we have a huge new slew of balance changes that will be hitting the top end. Here's what you gotta know as you take a look at it. Mina, very likely to not be a no-show this week, will likely be prioritized. I think Great Talent is gonna go way up in priority, especially when we consider that players like ABL for Abrahams were playing him to perfection. And when it comes to nerfs, Vindicta may not be picked or banned at all. Warden's going to go down to bin priority. And the interesting thing, Holiday got hit with a really major nerf, but I'm not even sure it's going to matter. I think Holiday is still going to be hotly contested because Holiday's overall kit is just that good for competitive play.
So wait, Victor, who wasn't that great, at least from week 1's example, already getting hit with a nerf. Why is he the first of the 6 getting hit, DDK?
Well, I think he was a little bit overtuned. That tends to be the way it goes with these new heroes. I mean, some people might argue it's because the devs really want everyone to play the new heroes and they want to get all the data, and then it's easier to tune it down. And I mean, I feel like that's probably the case here with Victor. He was just a little bit too strong, a bit too tanky. He's obviously can reincarnate, and so he's somewhat of a hyper carry. However, we didn't actually see when he was in a better state, we didn't see success coming in from Buff Enjoyers, who picked him a couple times in the finals last week. So, you know, it all goes to show when it comes to the actual pro play and the team play and so on, it's always going to look a little bit different.
The goo has gone wild on my background. I apologize, chat. Don't worry, we're gonna get that fixed. In the meantime, shout out to Novemro, hitting one of our first subscriptions of the day. We're pushing 450 and more. Thank you to everyone who subscribed. We were only up and running 1 week with subscriptions, already over 400. For those of you on YouTube, don't worry, I'm gonna shout it out a little bit less today, but we're still showing all the love to those who donate. Why? Because the players get money from your donations, and so do the graphics wizards, who bring you things like this. It's our roster for the Buff Enjoyers, because these guys have won 2 night shifts. They've taken home 2 Employee of the Month awards. But D-Mov and crew were left empty-handed last week. What happened, DDK, and what are your expectations for Listic's team this time around?
I mean, I feel like, you know, they've had, again, more time to adjust to the patch. I was just saying before the stream, I was watching a bunch of Listic who's been grinding Billy. So I feel like we're probably going to see Listic on Billy. We're going to see some of those changes. They also ran Victor a bunch last time, and it was another thing that sort of didn't really work out for them. So I think Buff Enjoyers are going to come into this, obviously looking to deal with Lotos, who are kind of dangerous. But of course, the sight is set on the grand finals, where that's where, you know, Buff Enjoyers will have an advantage, I think, because they were the ones that lost the previous time.
On the other side of this fight, it's a familiar foe. They've fallen short, but they're able to take a game last week. We got Lotos and Pyro, Sai, Kofian, Keck, and crew. We're using just familiar faces. They didn't really dive into the 6 new heroes. ZP, does that change today?
I think it may change. I mean, we've hit a point now where people have had a good amount of time on the new crop of heroes. Balance changes have sort of been out there to sort of digest and think about where to go. And also, I think this Lotos squad, on a base level, they have really good mechanical skill. It's just they're a little bit behind some of the team play that we've seen from the other teams, but there's also a little bit more of a game plan for how to deal with Buff Enjoyers. For example, going into the first draft here, I think you actually have a tough choice. I think you still prioritize getting the Viscous one way or another. Either you ban it so D-Mov can't play it, or you take it yourself. And then also, I think to what DDK is mentioning, Listic has been grinding a lot of Billy. Billy even got a minor buff in the last week, and I think Billy is really, really strong right now. I don't think you let Buff Enjoyers get Billy either, or you're going to be in for a world of pain.
We're going to be diving deep into these games in just a moment. The draft is around the corner, and we, of course, will have our 1v1. But chat asked for something special, and I'll give you what you want, chat. It was an update on where we're at in the cat suit race. We are 551 subs away from Jake dressing up as a cat maid of your choosing. It's coming your way. It's going to get a little bit weird, but he said he only gives us 2 weeks. So if we don't get it done tonight, no cat suit Jake. And I guess that makes some of you happy, a lot more of you like ZP very sad, and you may go to bed with tears in your eyes. ZP, what is it about the catsuit and the Deadlock community? I don't understand it. Why is this a meme?
Look, I'm not even sure it's just a Deadlock community thing. I think you just say you're going to put one of your casters in a catsuit, and people show up and go, yes, do this
like
thing.
Mento Yo-Yo. Yeah, we appreciate the Prime sub. That is the best way to do it, DDK, because it doesn't cost anyone anything. This is something free that they can do with just a few clicks.
Yeah, you're taking Amazon's money, essentially, right? You're giving it... I mean, they own the platform. It's very confusing, but yeah, the Prime sub is the way to go, without getting too deep into that. But yeah, I think the catsuit, it's just one of those things where, you know, you don't have to know why. It's like, you know, you like certain colors. You just like the catsuit, so... Ooh, hello.
We got some new suits on our Moes. What's going on here? ZP, first of all, who is who?
Oh, it's going to be Hoot for Buff Enjoyers in the blue. And on the Amber side, it is Lotos. So, again, you see the EU Mo meta has gotten very tense, down to the wire. Hoot, though, working at a slight advantage. One more shot. Oh! Off.
Hoot with the right hand finisher, and DDK, that of course gives our challenger the advantage in the draft. There's two options you can take here if you win. Can you walk us through it? For anyone who's new to Deadlock, how does this draft work?
Hey, that's all ZP, man. I just cast a game. I don't know how the rules work.
Well, yeah, so okay. ZP, let's break it down. You got two options, right? You can be team 1 or team 2. Why would you want to be either team?
It really comes down to what your read is on the meta. If you think there's a really strong hero that you want no matter what, you kind of want first pick oftentimes because it makes the other team have to ban it, or you get to play it. Or if you feel like there's an abundance of power, sometimes you'll defer and say you want second pick because that's going to get you 2 premium options. It just depends on what you're valuing in the draft. And in any given meta, you can make reasonable options as to go first or second, but it does come down to what a team is really valuing at the time.
Yeah, do you need to remove something from your opponent right away? Do you need to lock something in before they get an opportunity? Or do you just double up? Double Take, thank you for joining the Night Shift crew. We are up and running, and most of us are still sober. We are jumping into the first round of action. It is the EU battle, Mo and Krill Fight 1. And we've got some brand new suits on these guys. ZP, tell me the lore of this.
I mean, the lore of this is that we need to spice up our Mo and Krill 1v1s and decided, you know, Night Shift, we were going for like a speakeasy, almost like mafioso vibe. And Ozzy, one of the community modders, came in and said, yeah, I can help with that, and made us an absolutely beautiful Mo and Krill skin, where, by the way, we will be releasing this to the public. We haven't figured out quite how yet. We're going to make it a little bit special, but you will be able to use this in your own pub games.
We're going to give away some skins. Shout out to Ozman. Shout out to everyone who's been part of the Night Shift community before we were even labeled Night Shift. Fight Night, that's what I'm talking about. We can say it out loud without getting sued, DDK. Let's jump in, though, to our first round of draft. It's the Buff Enjoyers taking on Lotos, and I have a feeling the Buff Enjoyers are going to try and get Demov on a Viscus. If I've seen them raise a trophy, Demov was on a Viscus prior to it in the game 1 and 2 before that. Doesn't happen this time around with the new heroes out and the new buffs coming in.
Yeah, gonna have to see where the priority is. So Kelvin's gonna get banned instantly. Yeah, I'm curious what the teams are gonna value this week, because I don't want to go too heavy into the predictions just yet, because it's changing every single week. But Kelvin still seems to be obviously a top tier pick. It's always good to get rid of him. You know, that's not going to be one for Oberkim to be able to pick up. But if the Buff Enjoyers, I think. It's hard, ZP. Where do you see the first picks here at the moment? Because Holiday, that was usually an absolute must pick, and I agree with you. I feel like Holiday's kind of like Pocket. No matter how much you nerf her, her kit still has like so much utility.
I mean, I think you could pick Holiday here. I think taking away Viscus from Buff Enjoyers still may be the play, but you're giving up a lot of power in turn. I think Buff Enjoyers, if they can get both Viscus and Billy in the 1-2 coming up, they'll do that, unless they value Mina really highly. So the Billy's off the board. We'll see what Buff Enjoyers go for. Could end up being Mina Viscus.
We first thought that Billy might be garbage. He has now been insta-locked in back-to-back weeks. The Europeans putting him to more use than the North Americans, but everyone seemed to be enjoying him the most of the 6 new characters in the game. Buff Enjoyers, do they go with classics? They do. The Abrams is going to be locked in. This is going to be a character I still expect, especially after those Warden nerfs, DDK.
Yeah, and I'm actually a little bit surprised, because I would have expected to see, because if you go with him first, obviously you get 2 picks, but I almost feel like it's a statement, even though obviously you get 2 picks, so it could be equal value, but yeah, I'm very, very curious about that. Viscus is not coming out. Grey Talon, who did get some of the buffs, is coming out. We actually saw Grey Talon getting a lot of play from Buff Enjoyers last week as well, and so definitely seemed like it was already on the up, so it seems like this is going to be a lot of Grey Talon today, I feel like.
ZP, keep talking about the draft order while I take some notes of who's subscribing to the channel.
All right, well, as Puckett takes his notes, I think the interesting thing to me is that Buff Enjoyers, after seeing Billy get taken, decide, okay, we need to actually shore up our front line, get Listic a comfort pick, and you see the ascension of Grey Talon. I mean, the Grey Talon buffs on paper look pretty substantial, and Grey Talon was a big reason as to why Abrahams got over Buff Enjoyers last week. So this is a little bit of a readjustment for Buff Enjoyers, not relying as much on the early Viscus pick, but I'm still a little bit surprised if they don't take it before the mid-stage bans, given the opportunity, because overall, I don't think Viscus got hit hard enough that you still wouldn't love Dmov on the hero if you get to play it. I mean, Buff Enjoyers, they weren't losing games with Dmov on the Viscous, so we'll see what they go here. The other thing of note is that despite the buffs, Mina not being highly valued so far by either team.
Did Pocket get affected by these nerfs and buffs at all here, or is this still going to be a go-to character for Hoot? Because 7 is definitely going to Zergy. I've never seen anyone on this team other than Zergy lock in on this character because he just pops off when given the opportunity to track his opponents, DDK.
Yeah, it's 7 performs that really great function that you can just leave him alone for a while. He's one of the most, if not the most efficient farmer in the game. And if Buff Enjoys create enough space for Zergy, he's going to come out of the jungle and be the insurance. If you're having a hard time, he's going to be way ahead of everybody else and he'll just carry the game to the end. So that's kind of the plan there, but they have to keep the pressure off of him. And I am agreeing with you, ZP. The Viscous, yeah, I feel like would still be very nice against Lotos because of the lockdown that they already have. And it's such a good save with the cube.
Yeah, I mean, as I'm looking at this, we'll see if Lotos takes out the Viscous. Okay, they do. So I don't think too much has changed there, but I think the key is just what teams are prioritizing at the very top of the draft. I do think taking 7, though, when we've just looked at what teams have been carrying games with, still makes a lot of sense, just in the sense that as far as heroes that fill that role, no one clears the jungle quicker than 7. It's just that simple.
He fries. It's time to lock in. What is Dmov going to play? And we have not seen a Bebop. I was watching some streams this week. The Europeans are running Bebop, trying to make him famous against ZP, but it's an uphill fight for Hoot.
Yeah, I think Bebop here, this is a question of maybe the gun buffs are even more substantial than thought. Like, it was kind of an edge case on making the slide. Is it minor? Is it bigger? But some people were really enjoying the gun bop after the changes. So if Bebop is being played, which is going to be the case here, probably going to be a gun build Bebop coming in.
And again, Payne, you are correct. I was not writing down names. I was drawing penises. No, big shout out to Double Take. We got GE Tector, bald-headed guy, all locking in with their primes. Once again, if you're on Twitch right now, you have a prime. If you haven't used it, lock it in for free. The money goes to us instead of Amazon, and then we pay our observers who have done an incredible job on the show. And speaking of incredible, this game is about to get spicy. Why? We have Paige back in the lineup. She's 0-2 so far on the night shift, but that could change because this is the first time we've seen her paired with Drifter. Is there a chance they run in the same lane, or how do these two characters get implemented in Deadlock, ZP? They've only been out for 2-3 weeks now.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how it's going to pan out. A lot of people have been thinking Drifter doesn't really pan out to competitive scrutiny because his kit is kind of one designed to stomp pubs. It's really good if people aren't grouped up. If people don't have comms, his ultimate is incredibly good. But people have wondered, okay, is he actually going to be good at a comp level when people have good CC? And Lotos right now is declaring, yeah, we think we can make the Drifter work. Now, whether that's laned with a page or not, that's another thing entirely because we haven't even seen any Drifter lanes in comp here so far to know what people want to pair him with.
Everyone's saying Drifter is no good unless you're able to find people out by themselves, and that doesn't happen at pro play. So can Lotos prove that hypothesis wrong? That's the big question for me. Shout out to our European teams. If you're looking for new character play, we have 4 of the 6 in game, 3 of them put into the starting lineup by Lotos. Mina, of course, is going to be put in on the Buff Enjoyers. DDK, I'm fired up for week 5. This is going to be a good night shift.
Yeah, I mean, well, I can tell you who's going to be alone on Buff Enjoyers. It's going to be Zergy on 7. So there's, Drifter might be just there to be harassing 7. Also, we saw, I think it was from Lotos, right? The Mo and Krill pick going super hard in being very disruptive, jumping into the enemy jungle. Incredible survivability, able to juke and just draw attention and just be super disruptive. And I think what Lotos have here in theory actually could be really strong. And Paige, pretty amazing too in terms of the support. I think she was underutilized in the previous weeks. Her shield is incredibly powerful in some of these fights, and the extra lockdown as well to combine with all the other lockdowns. So I think Lotus' comp is really, really fun, and I don't know which way this is going to go, man.
Absolutely. Big shout out to everyone tuning in from around the world. We are live on twitch.tv/Deadlock Night Shift, over on YouTube, Deadlock Night Shift, and we are now live on Kick. This is the first of 4 matches coming your way. It's the EU Challengers Buff Enjoyers with 2 titles taking on Lotos. Ding, ding. DDK, take it away.
Yes. Yes, this is going to be really interesting. I think Lotos is super dangerous. Last week we saw that it's always a struggle for whoever plays against them because they bring novel ideas and they have extremely skilled players, great team play. As EP, I feel like Lotos, they're a great dark horse team. Really, they can definitely do damage.
I mean, with the departure of one win from the space, as far as teams go, they have stepped up to the task, and they have been the third best team in Europe. Every week, we kind of look for other teams to bring on and ask, is anyone here close to, the Holy Trinity? And right now, it's like, nope, Lotos way ahead. And the interesting thing here, I got a message from the Lotos manager saying, hey, can you update Kakarzo's signature hero? He is now a Drifter one trick. So when we get the names updated here in a second, DDK, gonna be Kakarzo on the Drifter. We'll see if that one trick power is enough to make Drifter good in his competitive debut here on the night shift.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm also really looking forward to seeing how Pyro plays the Billy, because I've been looking at how Listic plays Billy. Like Listic builds Billy a bit differently to the pub builds that you're going to find when you open up the builds in the in-game when you're doing your matchmaking. So it'll be interesting to check in on that in a few minutes. But yeah, I'm really curious to see the Drifter in action, and I think just going off of last week, one thing that Lotos is really good at is the mid-game disruption. So I'm super pumped to see that.
Yeah, and the fact that they're deciding to pair up the Drifter with the Mo kind of signals to me that this isn't a lane that's necessarily going out of its way to try to win lane so much as it's a lane that's going to be just survive, get into a good spot, and then eventually, as the game progresses, ideally you get some help and, free up the Drifter to maybe pressure the enemy jungle a little bit more. But it's not a lane I expect to be super, super aggro.
Yeah, and the meter is I'm really curious about that. Obviously, this receives some buffs, but we'll have to see how it really performs here in the pro level. With Billy, I can just give you guys, the lowdown on how Listic builds it in the early game. Where we're already seeing Billy get the pressure, and then the pressure from Billy is really annoying and oppressive. And if you build the regen early on, get the Enchanter's Barrier, you get your extra regen, and obviously the monster rounds will come in, so you get more wave pressure. That's kind of like the way Listic usually starts it out, and then gets into the Bullet Vest as well. So really just favoring the sustainability, because it allows you as Billy to get in the face of your opponent, trade your HP with the bash down and the raising ram as well, the melees, and yeah, you're going to take some damage there, but you're going to regen it up really, really quickly. So it just makes him this really annoying presence on lane that just never is ever going to be out pressured. That's kind of how Listic likes to play it.
Yeah, I think the problem you're going to run into playing the Billy versus the Geist Mina lane is just the fact that Mina, with the buffs coming into Love Bites and just the general scaling, Obakim, if he plays Mina right, can just be very, very oppressive on the poke. And it's such a dangerous lane to be in when a Mina is able to play super aggressive. But right now, just get charged back a little bit. Nothing too serious happening. Where, by the way, I didn't know if we were going to be using the new Night Shift Mo skin in the main broadcast, but we are. I'm kind of here for it. It is looking absolutely smooth.
Yeah, the Riz somehow just like, I don't know, it's like 10,000 times more Riz.
Well, he upgraded his wardrobe.
Things.
You work in the tunnels for long enough, eventually, just like, I need to look a little better. Huta coming with the uppercut onto Lash. Kind of low, though, in this case. So, it's a little bit of poke, but not a situation you want to stay in for too long. And the real power of this mid lane is just the fact you have incredible bursts coming in from Talon with the ability to get hooks and turn the lane. But so far, Lotos has actually been able to deal with it reasonably well.
Ooh, yeah, looks like it, but the Talon, he wants to barely escape that. Demov surviving. Oh. But Sanya Sniper will go down, looking to go for somewhat of a chase there. So Hoots, I mean, Hoots and Demov so close to dying, but still maintaining the superiority in this lane. However, there is still somewhat of an equilibrium, like the wave, wasn't crashing into the Lotos tower. So, Lotos didn't really lose too much by losing Sanya Sniper there.
I mean, there is always the MOBA adage of greed makes feed, and Sanya just thinking that the kill could be finished off, just not quite the case. But also, going back here to left lane. Now, C-Page coming in, a little bit extra pressure here onto the Geist. Up and over, and oh, Demov, the quick owl, just sends it across the other lane, doing massive damage. And this is the power of why you always want to put your GT in middle.
Oh, totally. And there's some of that lockdown coming in onto Zergy. Great find, 30 HP, just chilling. That doesn't look like a single problem. That new look is definitely paying off, I think. And there's Mina on the chase. I don't know if Sunny Sniper's going to be able to escape this one. This is looking very difficult. And there we go. Easy finish there for Oberkim. And seeing a lot of action, actually, in the first few minutes of this one. I'm really curious if we find a moment to switch over to the Billy. I just really want to see if the build is the same as we see from Listic that he's been practicing. So yes, it looks like it is quite similar indeed. Just focusing on the regen there, getting the monster rounds. No Enchanter's Barrier yet, though. But still, the dive, the pressure coming on in. He's at full HP, so he's able to do this. Creates a lot of damage out here. And that's just so irritating. And Billy can, like, fall back, get these creeps. Monster rounds really helping with that one. And just keeping his the Lotos creeps like crashing into the enemy tower here, and more opportunities for pressure. Look at the HP now starting to dwindle on these buff enjoyers players. So, and Billy's health is still staying up. So good work there coming in from Pyro.
Things seen up a little bit on the right-hand side. Kind of called out, though, like, with the lane matchup we have on the right, it is really just the rope-a-dope lane with Drifter and Mo, just, you know, trying to stay alive, stay reasonably close and farm. And you take a look at how it's developed, it is mostly the case here on the right. Like, yeah, you've taken a little bit more tower damage from the 7 Abrams, but really neither side the most aggressive lane unless you just completely disrespect what the Abrams can do with the charge.
And here we're seeing Sai going for some of that disruptive play that we've been talking about, never really allowing the opponents to be able to chill and do anything for free. So it's like there's quite a bit of drama in that mid lane, but we're back on this this Mina lane. And Paige is really annoying, I think, to play against as well, with all the area abilities.
Well, I think you like running Paige with the Billy just because of the trades that you can get off of it, where, generally speaking, Billy wants to trade some of his HP for the dive, but hold the phone. Let's talk about that. What about trading all your HP, the Oathkeeper? Just Sharik and Obakim turning up the pressure on this left-hand side. And even with something like the Paige Billy that, you know, has ability to do reasonable health trades in lane, any slip-up versus the current Mina really can amount to your death. However, he is rotating on over, trying to equalize things, and at the very least will be forcing Obakim back.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to see now more pressure coming in on the mid lane, and I'd love to see it, but maybe not so much for Lotos. There is the chase coming in on through, though, from Pyro, trying to work his way in on that pressure in mid. In the meantime, we're looking at this Lotos defense of their Guardian. You got Zergi coming back in for a vengeance. Obviously, he's got the assistance coming in also from Listic to try to get that tower down. But in comes Sai, looking to make life hellish. There is the grab. The combo is it going to be enough? We've got some extra help here coming on through to make sure that Listic will indeed fall. And there we go. So it's a good defense. Lotos did, though. They lost quite a bit of tower Guardian damage there. So, not the end of the world, though, but they at least get the kills.
Looking back towards the middle lane where, you know, realistically, even though it's been somewhat even, you just get the threat from Demov where every time Owl's been up, Demov has gone to make a play on left to right lane. Owl right now is back up in play. You take a look at right-hand side. Things are getting a little bit spicy. I wonder if Demov's going to back off for a second, send another Owl. May not be needed, though. Kakarso, again, kind of low. And actually, Listic kind of biting off more than you could chew here. 200 HP, playing on the margins. Is there an Owl coming in? There's an Owl coming in. Up, over. And immediately just gonna give Listic space. This is what I was talking about here, Dan.
Here we go. Intercontinental Owl on the way. It's gonna find some shenanigans, but we're back on the Mina. Oh no, Paige in trouble. There comes the barrier, though, to keep her alive and in good standing. Now, Mina's... hold that thought, because we've got, once again, Listic coming on in to get a finishing blow. And Mina's back in the action. The ult is really dangerous. So much damage to silence as well. The mobility too. Quick little wall bounce there to get out of trouble, but Listic loves getting in on the trouble. A 1v1 against the Mo. I mean, that tuxedo, that suit is too much. It's not a tuxedo. It's just a cool suit. It's a pinstripe suit.
Yeah, I mean, look, it adds to his power. Even if the players don't see it, we see it, and that may be all that matters. As you see off here on the right-hand side, Guardian should be going down in favor of Lotos here soon, although, you know, just a little bit lacking is you see the rotation coming in. Demov actually looking, hey, we can maybe save the Guardian, put a little bit more pressure on the Sai. Sai right now running for their life in the right-hand side.
I see Krill.
And it's interesting too, the positioning for Ryachu is trying to steal those Sinner's sacrifices. But again, we get another Clobber Fest coming on through. We've got the pinstriped executive of Scythe against Listic. This time he's going to lose that battle. And great movement coming in on through from Listic to just get out of harm's way, cut off the line of sight, and really literally fly away. But we haven't seen much from the Drifter, but on camera now, we're going to start to see more presence from Kekarzo.
As we get into the beginning of, the end part of the early game into about the mid game here, it's 10 minutes in, and, when all has been said and done, Buff and Joyce has been able to start to get pretty decent clearance here. Just a bunch of micro interactions in the lane going their way, a little bit better pushing, and a decent amount of this is that the side lanes were relatively even, and then Dimov just hits ult. And Owl after Owl have actually been really important at setting advantages in the left and right-hand side. So, playing off of that, plus a little bit extra, Buff and Joy is now working with a pretty reasonable edge.
Here we go. More action. It doesn't seem to stop here, ZP, around the 10-minute mark. It's just been constant. And Listic's going to get the worst end of this one. Potentially, no. I thought he was going to be absolutely murdered, but unfortunately for Lotos, Listic is in good health, and we're going to be seeing Buff and Joyers here keep the pressure on finding players at the secret shop, the curiosity shop. Hoots will escape from sight for the moment, look to reposition. The Guardian on the right side for Buff and Joyers is in critical condition, so they are trying to protect that. But you can say the same for Lotos's. This right side lane is hotly contested, and the urn has been collected.
They're in right now, not going to be brought over anytime soon. The right-hand side, though, just continue to be this war with both Guardians low. As you mentioned, Death Slam, opportunity here for Sanya, picks up 2, goes over and in. Stormcloud, though, going to be out here in response from Zergy. Immediately shut down in turn. Now, fight going a little bit higher. Zergy taken down at mid Stormcloud, where I think that was Sai who got in with the combo for the interruption. So Sai again, right place, right time on the Mo. Now, a little bit Drifter chase down the Abrams, but decides, no, not quite the time.
Yeah, the Drifter chase down is really scary, but speaking of which, in trouble, Obikim there on top of the ult. And that's always a problem. I feel like the ult of Mina is very dangerous in terms of damage, but I feel like the worst thing is the silence that it applies to you if it hits you, because then you don't have an ability to escape with any of your escape abilities. And that's, I think, for me, what's always the most annoying thing.
Yeah, I mean, Mina's interesting too as a hero where, effectively she's in the class of heroes that needs to be ahead of the game to really be dangerous. If she ends up kind of at the median, it's not great, but turn in. Gonna go the way of Lotos. Well, Owl, though, gonna make a drive-by here towards the end, where Dimov will continually just be doing this on cooldown over the course of the game. And honestly, being able to get the urn there for Lotos, gonna even things up to some extent. Buff and Joy are still at a small lead, but looking here to the left, just a little bit haze harassment from Rayek.
Ooh, looking to fish there is Hoot. Doesn't get too much from it though. So map control is really looking good right now for Buff and Joy. They're invading their opponent's Sinners here, trying to create havoc, just get so steal on those resources, and that is definitely a big win, I would say, for Buff and Joyers to capitalize on that map control. And speaking of which, Lotos responding on the other side of the map here, looking to try to deal with these invaders. Looks like they'll be able to take down Obikim for the time being. Who joining the action though? Hyper Beam is ready to rip, and rip it will, doing a bunch of damage, but it's just going to scare them off.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes for Hyper Beam, you're okay if it just gets people to move, but speaking of moving, the Spirit Snare going to be interrupting Hayes' mid-bullet dance. And now, time to send the Owl, get a little bit of cover, let it fly. And the skirmish is continuing here off to the side. Shannon not able to get away, ends up running the Geist in Dark Alley, gets the life swap, and Coffin wondering, wait, why in the world did I go over here? Geist still had ult. And things down in the lower right of the map, more rotations coming in from Lotos, and Hoot maybe getting caught here in a second. We'll see.
Yeah, Billy on the way out. Oh, and Billy is dead. So yeah, it's quite a similar build, by the way, to what Listic does. You get the Backstabber in there. I saw that, the Cultist sacrifice as well. Well, now this tower looks like finally the right side Guardian is going to go down of Lotos. couple of Stealer creeps as well.
I mean, you look at where the Guardian situation is at. The important thing for Buff Enjoyers is that they've still maintained their middle Guardian here, and I think what's going to happen is that you're going to see them repeatedly converge on mid when Lotos tries to take it down. I think if you have to preserve one Guardian, it is way, way better to preserve middle, just because in terms of where people on the map, you have the most options to actually rotate back in and defend it, should it be alive this long, which is also the importance of just stacking your mid lane with a really good lane combo, which is also why you see that pretty often. But over and in, combo on the Demov. Demov just immediately taken down. Sai continuing to make plays.
Yeah, Sai's been amazing on this Moan Crawl, and after last week, we don't expect any less. Going for another objective here. Ern has to be dropped. It was on Oberkin, but he has to hightail it to this fight. He needs to assist his teammates here in mid. Big fight. The chain gang coming out on through. The bomb doing great work there from Hoots with that bebop, and the chase continues now because Lotos are losing players, but they might lose a lot more. I don't think they can get out of this one alive, and that's another player to fall. Sanya Sniper goes down, and what do we have here? This is a great way to capitalize. The mid boss is now under siege.
They're going to go for mid, but it will be somewhat of a trade. You'd rather have mid rather than earn at this stage in the game, but I do like the fact that Lotos at least recognize that, okay, this fight is not going to go well for us if we try and contest middle. Hey, Kakarzo, go grab the urn, turn it in. Also get some of the extra souls for yourself. But, you know, one of the questions coming into this game was, hey, what is the impact of the Drifter going to be? And so far, it feels like Kakarzo has just been mostly in the jungle, but not necessarily in a ton of these fights. But, you know, as the game goes on here, you know, I'm curious to see the impact of the Drifter because, you know, again, we haven't seen any of him in comp play until this very game.
Yes, it's interesting to take stock at this point too, CP, especially because now we have a pause, so we get all the time in the world to do it. Right now, the map control kind of looks a little bit better for Lotos in terms of just the lane push, and obviously we're even in terms of all those stage 1 Guardians have gone down. And the thing that I think that's interesting is, you know, where is Zergy at? You know, this is normally where you would expect Zergy to be, I think, you know, a few K in souls ahead potentially, but I think the game has been so disruptive that Zergy hasn't really been able to get ahead in the measure that you would expect by this point.
I got a request for production. Can we get a zoom in on Krill? We added some glasses to Krill for this skin. Fancied him up a little bit more. Okay, we'll get the close-up. We'll get the close-up here and there. Look, it's not nerdy. He's just classy. Look at him.
Look at that guy.
Speaking of which, you can see that he's trying to set up a gank here. He's looking again. He's looking to find Zergy possibly. I think they know that when Zergy's on 7, that's a good way to try to just shut down buff enjoyers. And he's still waiting for something. He gets information by standing there as well. There's a TP, and he's actually surrounded by 4 players. CP. I think Sai's in trouble.
Yes, not necessarily in the greatest situation, but also your Mo and Krill. If anyone can escape from a situation, usually it's going to be the Mo. But I think the part where this gets really problematic for Lotos, even though the souls are even, Buff Enjoyers has been continually invading and taking away the vaults, the sinner sacrifices repeatedly. And even though comeback mechanics and comeback souls can get you somewhat close in the soul end, it doesn't do anything for the golden statue buffs you get. But over here to the left, Nox Nostra just going to delete Sanya from this universe. A little bit of extra damage into the walker right on top. And if there's one thing Nina does really well is just push down objectives with her ult.
Yeah, the damage is ridiculous. And you know, this is Buff Enjoyers really now capitalizing with those rejuves that they have. One charge is gone now, but I mean, they got a walker, they got a couple kills, and they are now 10k souls ahead off of it as well. Getting some base guardians as well, 2 on this lane. That's a massive pickup for them also. So yeah, looking pretty good. Obviously, Lotos are gonna really truly be working from behind. They might lose another walker here. This mid walker is on his last legs, and now it crumbles as another fight is forced by Buff Enjoy. Still 2 rejuves available, so Lotos trying to fight this, but they're having to fall back into their base. They just can't. The losses are too heavy.
And Buff Enjoyers right now, they're just trying to add on to their lead. It started out as around like 10k post mid boss. Death Slam though, coming in, grabs 2, the fall through maybe their combo immediately after the Death Slam. and it's gonna take out 2 other Rejuvenators, but can you get more? Zergy drops a Storm Cloud, tries to buy a little bit more room for buff enjoyers to get the escape. Listic still gets caught. Demov, though, Surgical Owl finds 2 towards the very end, so Lotos, the good news is you got rid of the Rejuvenators. The bad news is you still find yourselves behind and now potentially about to lose your final walker.
And that owl was like the bomb run in like Star Wars, where they're trying to like, get that bomb in like the Death Star. That's like, holy. All right, another walker under serious assault here. Massive damage output so very quickly. And it looks like it's going to be hard to save that one. Now, what is the comeback win condition here? Well, maybe this is part of it. The Billy up in the face of Zergy. Zergy trying to get out of here, but it's hard to get out of Billy's way. 2 kills going the way of Lotos. That is something. But now Mina's this oppressive force up in the skies, and I don't know. Are we going to try to challenge this? Pyro still fairly healthy. Mina not so much. Has to get out.
I mean, Mina at times is the definition of glass cannon. You look at the build that you see for Obakim right now, not a lot of green in that build for the most part. You are all in on buffing your spirit damage. Doesn't leave you with a ton to survive, aside from your Sanguine Retreat that, as you see right there, gets you out of some sticky situations between its range and its invulnerability mid-go. But also, Urn trying to be moved around here. Let's see Hoot in possession of the Urn, gonna drop it. Lotos all around the Urn area. See where they engage next as, near a point of being able to fight again. The Owl, though, Demov. Looking for anything. Where's it gonna land? Plenty of targets, but running out of time.
Yeah, good info gathering as well for the position of the opponents, what they're actually up to. Lotos still on that invasion in the left side of the jungle. And might actually try to collapse on Zergy and also Sharik there. He's on that, guys. There's the catch coming in combo. And that's the HP now going down real quick. There's the swap, though. But Mo and Krill not too unhappy about that. He's got assistance here to lock it down. Knockdown coming on through. And Sharik will fall indeed. In the meantime, the Urn is collected by buff enjoyers, as we can see on camera. But is there a walker to be had here? Because those players are kind of far away right now.
It's interesting that this push is taking as long as it is on the left. I think Lotos did just want to do the clean Walker for Urn trade, but it hasn't really turned out that way. Demov was able to rotate over, apply enough poke damage that none of Lotos actually felt comfortable staying there. Look at the HP on the top of your screen right now. Sanya nearly dead, and Demov has been making this work. And hey, when there's nearly dead heroes around, you grab the Owl, you go on the hunt, you look, you find, and Sanya cannot get away. Demov just making it work, and maybe this is why they weren't too worried about being the Viscous early here, Dan.
Yep, yeah, definitely. Viscous is the GOAT. Map control suffering now for Lotos once again. But it's still, I mean, the soul gap is, it's now starting to balloon a little for buff enjoyers, but it still seems recoverable. And the fact that Zergy is on parity with the rest of his teammates, I think is also a good sign for Lotos if you're looking for a sign. But with that said, it's going to be, I mean, we need to see both, I think, the Drifter and, for Kikazo and Rechon de Haze, that those are the ones that are really going to win you the fights, to have that big damage output. And they're not necessarily doing a bad job in terms of the souls, but they're not in like this critical mass, I feel like. This game could still go either way, ZP, but it does feel like the window's closing for Lotos.
By the way, for those wondering, the approach to Bebop and Pro Play post-patch, yeah, it's a bit of gun bop. As you take a look at Hoot's items, a whole lot of orange in there, which isn't really surprising. People said, okay, how are you going to be playing Bebop in the current patch? Well, gun bop is the way to go. We have another Owl moving around. Not quite sure what it hit, but no, it's still in play, actually. Just Demov. I think you're right, Dan, when you mentioned the idea is like part of this is just a bit of info gathering at this point, where Demov is built in a way that he's getting Owl off cooldown pretty quickly, and you can use it to scout the map, even if you don't have a target in mind to execute.
Yeah, I think it's definitely at this level of play, it's really important having that calculation, being able to confirm where the opponents actually are in a given moment, can really tell you what play is good or not to execute at a given time. And just taking a look at the macro right now, we see that most of the jungle for both sides is starting to be really cleaned up fully. So the mid boss up, it feels like the next big fight could really potentially swing the game one way or the other.
Let's just say that. We got the pressure here on the Geist and the immediate fall through. This is why you run Mo, and you look at the map. Is it going to be clean? Is there going to be any pickoff in turn? Billy maybe caught the Nox Nostra coming on in, and tanky as you may be, not going to do enough if you get a clean Nox Nostra from the top. So what could have been the start of something here for Lotos ends up being a 1-for-1. Death Slam comes in right as Owl comes in at the same time. May have interrupted part of the Death Slam. But now, up close and personal, where Listic likes to be, takes down Sanya, but the trade's still happening. Demov ends up falling 2 for 2 here so far. Listic, Seismic Slam, looking for Page. One melee landed, up close and personal, looking for a little bit more. Off the Warp Stone, into the charge, over, lands a shotgun, but here's a Drifter looking to rumble.
Yeah, alone against a Drifter, never a fight you want to be finding yourself in. I don't know that he's going to be able to survive this one. In he goes. Kekazo is going to be able to finish off the Abrams. Listic falls. And how many more 1v1s? Well, that's not a 1v1, that's a 1v3. That's very difficult. Sight comes in on the Mo, gets pulled, and this might be problematic. Mo, though, able to get out with a Warp Stone and a double jump. Very well done to stay up. You need to have both your Billy and your Mo up right now, because that's the only thing preventing your opposing team or just going in and maybe taking shrines. But they might be going for the mid boss here, because it's a 4v2, and that really is enough to feel comfortable to go for it.
So we're getting a quick reconnect as this goes in, but you know, for the second mid boss at this point, I actually don't think if you're Lotos that you can win this game with the buildings being the state they are, like your structures being the state they're in, if you give up a full 4 rejuve mid boss. I don't think the options for stealing or interrupting are all that great here, but you do have Billy up, you do have Mo up. I mean, maybe you go for a chain gang, get a little bit of disruption, and get at least one of the rejuves out of there. Ideally, too, if you could split it. Even if you end up dying there, the fact that you get rid of 2 makes it at least somewhat more palatable to maybe defend back at base. But if Buff and Joy is able to just take mid-boss cleanly, rush at you with 4 rejuves, it's going to be so incredibly hard to make that defense work.
Well, here goes mid-boss. And this might be a big problem if Lotos can't stop it. They don't have enough, really. 3 players up at the moment. The rejuve's falling from the sky. There are some players that are around mid, but I don't think they're close enough to challenge for this. And indeed, they're going to have to give it up. And it's a terrible feeling, because Lotos were actually clawing their way back. Only a 20k difference is actually them making some progress, but that progress might be able to might start slipping away. The urn's being recovered as well by Buff Enjoyers. It's in enemy territory, and you know what? Lotos might be forced to consider a fight there.
If you're Lotos, you would love to get some picks on the map to just wear down the rejuves, but your Page getting caught by the freight train that's Listic, that is not one of the things you need to happen. Now you're down a player for a minute. The urn has gone against you, and Buff Enjoyers gets to push in with 4 rejuve stacks. Dan, this is the beginning of the end, and Listic on the Sanya, that just puts it for sure in the category of Buff Enjoyers.
Yeah, this looks like it might all be coming to an end now. I mean, Lotos, they fought so hard, but they're going to lose everything in the base right now. They might get, one last fight potentially here. You still have, Haze out on the map. It's just clearing a lane, got to be done. And Sai's also on another lane. So they're going to be coming back as their teammates respawn for a big team fight to see if they can maybe have one last-ditch attempt here. But that Patron's going down real fast. Zergy up there in the Cloud Storm, the Storm Cloud, and that's going to be a wrap. Lotos will be booted out once again after a great effort against Buff Enjoyers, and that set us up for the rematch that we all wanted against Abrahams.
Man, oh man. And yeah, I mean, one thing I have to say here, I now understand why you had the change in priority. And in fact, looking at it in retrospect, the ban on Viscus was probably not needed in the mid stage from Lotos here, because what we got here was Demov just using Grey Talon to max potential. And if Demov was that keyed in on GT, I don't think Buff Enjoyers wants to play Viscus at all if they're able to get GT first. That's the one thing I took away from this game on a draft strategy level, but also something that Abrahams, being the defending team, they get to take as well.
Buff Enjoyers opening things up with the first dub of the night. What does that mean? That means they get to play the Abrahams in our EU finals. And DDK, I am very excited for this showdown because we saw some new characters being played by Lotos, but the OGs seem to have a bigger impact. Do you think this is just the same story of a team diff? Was it a comp diff? Why was this game so fast this time around?
It's hard to say. I think what's really interesting to me is I felt like Lotos had a good approach. We did see that they were able to essentially stop Zergy from farming out of control, and they did so with a super highly disruptive play. But I think that highly disruptive play is sort of a double-edged sword, and obviously it didn't sort of go their way, unfortunately, this time.
The Bebop buff and the Mo buff seem to be paying dividends early. We're going to take a look here at some of the highlights. In the meantime, shout out to Sox Plays Overwatch. JDR Healer dropped a sub on Prime. And of course, Jax Libido, who has been here, what I feel like every single week. Another 5 gifted in the chat. We are now officially 437 from a made cosplay cat play. I don't even know how to describe it. In the meantime, the new Mo looking pretty good. ZP, talk to me about gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lotos was pretty darn competitive in the early to mid game, even after falling behind somewhat from the immediate lane phase, in part because of the pressure Dmov was putting out. They clawed their way back in no small part due to Sai on the Mo, finding opportunities and getting back into it. The problem was that even when they were getting that, it was just getting them back to even. They never really got to a point where someone like Kakarzo could get ahead on the Drifter and start taking the game away. And a part of that, it was just Buff Enjoyers, really good control over the map. And again, in no small part due to Dmov. I think how the GT was played here by Buff Enjoyers was just incredibly solid.
Thief Duck coming in. I spotted you. Thank you very much. Question I saw here was, why was there a Haze but no Wraith? ZP, can you think about the comp here from Lotos? What is the thought here of a Haze instead of a Wraith or vice versa?
I mean, generally speaking, Haze is just going to give you more pressure on the map earlier than Wraith. The general consensus on Wraith is that she takes more time to get online. When Wraith really is notable in a competitive game is when you get to the 30 or 40k soul count and you're full carry status. Haze, meanwhile, is able to set up way more ganks over the course of the map between Sleep Dagger and Smoke Bomb, just being mobile and applying pressure, and still can be a threat into the late game. So when you're picking a Haze over the Wraith, it just kind of says that for the team comp you're running, you want more of that power dictated earlier in the game.
Okay, good call outs there. DDK, we have to award an MVP from our first game. Was there a standout player that you think deserves our player of the match highlights?
Ooh, I've been leaning Dmov with this one. I feel like the Great Talent performance was pretty important and pretty amazing from start to finish. You know, winning that mid lane, the early lane in mid, winning with the ult, controlling other lanes, setting up ganks, pursuing kills, just being a really big nuisance. I think he did an amazing job in this particular game. Are you with me, ZP?
Big shout out to the Great Talent play. And ZP, is this the new main? Did you say it's better than his Viscous?
I think so. I especially when you look at how Dmov played it here. Think about how Dmov plays his Viscous, roaming around the map and creating favorable situations for Buff Enjoyers, using Puddle Punch mobility and just general protective nature. Dmov was able to do this without leaving his couch, so to speak, in middle lane, just by sending owls to the right place at the right time. I mean, heck, we even saw him do a loop-de-loop going over to right lane, deciding I don't need to use it here, and brought it all the way back to mid at the same time. Just this evolution of gameplay of using the owl for map control and to get advantages in other parts of the map to a way that you can't really predict ahead of time if you're on the receiving end. It's just very powerful macro control of the game.
Open up, you got feathers in your mouths thanks to Dmov. He earns your early MVP, but can he keep it rolling against the Abrahams? That is where the money will be on the line. Thanks to our friends at Intel. $1,000 matchup is coming up next, DDK, and this is one that we've seen in the past. In fact, it's been in the grand finals 4 times. We're about to see the tiebreaker coming up. For those who have missed it, what should they know coming in?
They should know that this is going to be a really close game. Both Abrahams and Buff and Joyers clearly think very similarly about the game. So that makes the draft really interesting because it's not as much about denying comfort for your opponents. The draft becomes more strategic. Both teams can play a lot of the same stuff really, really well. And it's whoever can employ a better understanding where the meta is at right now. And going into this, it was actually Abrahams that won last time. So Buff and Joyers kind of gets that kind of return edge where, I mean, Abrahams don't have to change anything, but Buff and Joyers can. And so they're going to have all their notes going into how to win and counter Abrahams this time.
We're going to be going to a break as we go out. Shout out to everyone in Twitch chat. We are officially at 1,337 viewers. That is elite. That is an old school number that only a few of you over the age of 30 can appreciate. And a big shout out to Thief Duck, Heather Karagi, Efent, and more. F-Cut, I can read officially. Thank you for joining the crew. Remember, the night shift is growing every single week. This is shift number 5, and we got an EU final coming up after the break. Don't go anywhere.